A mysterious woman works as a cleaner in the police station, yet she dances with so much joy, without a care that she's just a janitor. In her joyful mood, she accidentally knocks a box off the floor containing crucial murder victim evidence. While browsing the photos, she quickly understands what occurred. Seeing the police crime board, she notices an error, cleans off suspect, and alters it to victim. The following day at the police precinct, the lead investigator, Karadek, and the LAPD director, Selina, continue their investigation. The investigator discloses that their main suspect is the deceased man's wife, Lynette Acosta, a well-known lawyer. However, since her husband's death, she has vanished. Her daughter, Letty, is away for her studies. At that point, the investigator notices the board's alteration and becomes furious, vowing that whoever tampered with the evidence will face jail time and demands someone find the culprit. Meanwhile, Morgan and her 3 kids are shopping at the mall when her eldest daughter begs for an item. Morgan denies, stating they have a tight budget. Nevertheless, the daughter sneaks the item back into the cart. At the checkout, after tallying the purchase cost, the cashier announces a higher total than Morgan expected. Morgan points out a possible mistake. After a brief exchange, she discovers her daughter secretly added an item. The cashier appreciates her keen observation and correction of the price. On the bus ride home, Morgan doesn't mind carrying the cart, although her daughter grumbles. Their car is broken and Morgan has refrained from repairs due to expenses. At the station, the team is both intrigued and annoyed by footage of Morgan dancing. They summon her for an explanation. Reviewing the footage, they wonder why she meddled with the evidence. Morgan explains her compulsion to fix mistakes she notices so she can sleep peacefully. Karatek is eager to arrest her for tampering with the evidence, but the director pulls out the case file and asks her opinion on the crime. With her unique analysis and keen attention to detail, she demonstrates that Lynette was not the suspect but a victim, affirming there was a third party at the crime scene, and that Lynette was merely kidnapped since she hasn't been found. At that moment, one of the investigators enters and announces that camera footage confirms a third person entered the Acosta's home before the crime. This partially validates Morgan's theory, but Karatek's ego is too inflated, so he instructs his partner, Oz, to escort Morgan to a cell until they decide her fate. After she's taken away, the director insists they proceed with her insights. Although Karatek is angry that she accessed a crime file, the director emphasizes that thanks to Morgan, they have a potential lead. Daphne, another investigator, retrieves the home camera footage and discovers a woman named Liska visiting the Acosta residence before the crime occurred. Liska is brought in for questioning and explains her visit took place 3 months prior. She claims her visit was due to Lynette defending her boss against assault charges and winning, despite being expected to protect assaulted women. However, Karatek notes that yesterday's camera footage shows her at the Acosta's house, which she denies, saying she was at home working all day. Morgan is released, and during that moment, she notices that the camera footage retrieved from the Acosta's home contains a wrong timestamp and points it out to the team. This causes Karatek to be angry, as she's meddling with something that doesn't concern her. As she signs her paperwork and is about to step out, the director calls her back and asks her to elaborate on what she was saying about the wrong timestamp on the camera. She points out that with the wind blowing direction and the direction of the church facing east at that moment, it clearly shows that the lady wasn't at the Acosta's home yesterday. Rather, this footage was from months ago, meaning someone tampered with the camera footage. After revealing this, she walks out of the room, and the director goes after her. Curious, she asks how she manages to have such a great mind, and she points out that she has a 160 IQ. However, this comes with a price, as her mind is always on a roller coaster, making it difficult for her to maintain a job or a stable relationship. Outside the police station, her boyfriend is waiting for her and isn't surprised she's been arrested. At that moment, a police officer assumes she's a street worker, offending Morgan, prompting her to hit him. Both end up back in the cell, as her boyfriend yells at her for her reckless behavior, but they quickly reconcile. Meanwhile, Karadek meets Lynette's daughter, who is clearly devastated by the situation. Karadek assures her that he will find the perpetrators and bring them to justice, but needs to ask her questions about her mom. Letty believes her mom is dead too, but he assures her that's not the case and they will find her. Karatek goes to the director to ask for permission to search Lynette's office for a letter based on what her daughter told him. Yet the director points out that since she's a defense attorney for a top organization, a warrant to search her office is out of reach. But Karatek insists they must at least try to find evidence. The director approves and asks him to go with Morgan. Although Karatek dislikes the idea, the director reminds him that Morgan's help was crucial in advancing the Acosta case, and he agrees grudgingly. Meanwhile, Morgan phones one of her neighbors to babysit her kids. She spots Letty nearby and recognizes her as Lynette's daughter from the case file. She approaches Letty to comfort her, promising to help her mom return safely, and asks for a recent photo of her. After browsing through photos, she reassures Letty not to worry excessively. The director then asks for her help to uncover the case, to which she agrees. Following Letty to her sister's home, Karatek warns Morgan not to say or do anything, as this might jeopardize their plans. Karatek proceeds to interrogate Lynette's sister about a letter her sister received that might help them with the investigation, but she says she knows nothing. Morgan begins to touch some objects in the room, disregarding what Karatek told her earlier. When the lady asks, Karatek defends her by saying she is their consultant. Morgan then asks the woman about her profession, and she's surprised that Morgan could see what's written on her computer from such a distance. Karatek is very angry with her for talking to the lady, as he asked her not to do anything. But Morgan fires back, pointing out that they really need to find the letter in Lynette's office either way because the sister is obviously hiding something. However, Karatek doesn't want her to join them this time. Angry and realizing she is not needed, she leaves. Karatek meets with the head of the law firm to get his approval to search Lynette's office, but he refuses without a search warrant. Angrily, he goes to the bathroom to relieve his frustration. Suddenly, Morgan shows up with the letter, having sneaked into Lynette's office to retrieve it. Karatek isn't happy about her breaking into an office and law firm, as they could be sued or go bankrupt. But Morgan highlights that the letter mentions a potential suspect known as Diamond Lader, who might be the serial killer of Acosta. Karatek tells her to return the letter to the office, assuring her they will interrogate Diamond. But she must leave the letter in Lynette's office as she found it. During the interrogation of Diamond, Karatek mentions that he was once sued by Liska for assault, and his lawyer Lynette helped him win the case. Before the hearing, Lynette got a letter from Sarah, who tried suing him for assault but later ended her own life. Diamond refuses to answer questions, and just then, Daphne calls to confirm Diamond wasn't in town during the crime. Morgan doesn't buy it. She notes there was no reason for him to be in Fontana, so she urges Karatek to ask Diamond what he was doing out of town, but it's too late. The director hears about officers breaking into a law firm. She's furious and scolds Karatek for being reckless, but he blames Morgan. That night, Morgan tells him to ask Diamond what he was doing in Fontana, but Karatek dismisses her, insisting she go home to her family, suggesting her recklessness isn't how investigations work. During dinner, Morgan notices her daughter seems unhappy and glued to her phone. Concerned, she asks what's wrong. Her daughter admits feeling useless, not as smart as Morgan, noting even her younger brother solves complex math, possibly inheriting their father's traits. Unfortunately, she's never met him, which makes Morgan leave her room in tears. In the morning, while trying to get the kids ready for school, her young son sees a man standing on their lawn. She checks and finds it's Karatek. He asks why she wants him to talk to Diamond about Fontana, so she tells him that Diamond wouldn't have a good reason to be in Fontana because nothing's happening there. However, she noticed something in Sophia's sister Lynette's home. One thing wasn't dusty, marked as Fontana, indicating Sophia and Diamond were in Fontana recently. Karatek points out they weren't in town during the crime. This revelation gives Morgan a crucial insight. She recalls a specific flower from her meeting with Letty and asks her neighbor how long it takes for such flowers to wither. He replies that it takes about 4 days. This leads her to suspect an affair between Diamond and Sophia. He knows he's guilty and was only involved with her to gain access to Lynette, enabling her to assist him in winning his case against Liska. After leaving the kids at school, Morgan continues to explain that they both head to Lynette's house to place flowers there and apply pressure on her to support his defense in court. However, her husband was present at that time. For now, they need to verify the time frame when the crime was actually committed. Upon arriving at the Acosta's residence, with her keen observation, she concludes that Diamond and Sofia aim to intimidate Lynette. However, her husband catches them arguing and grabs a gun. As he isn't combative, Diamond effortlessly takes the gun from him and fatally shoots him. But another issue emerges. How is this possible since, according to the report, Diamond and Sofia were in Fontana on the same day? Being a genius, this isn't a problem for Morgan, who easily solves it using her good memory. She recalls that during the time she saw the crime pictures, the flowers on the table were already dead, and Letty had a picture of Lynette holding the same flower 3 days ago, which was blooming before the whole incident. Since Sofia was a botanist and Diamond was a security technologist, coupled with the treehouse in the living room and the fact that the house is a smart home, meaning it has its own climate control system, he was able to freeze Acosta's body. The next day, Lishka visits the home. He frames her as murderer. In Lynette's case, Sofia couldn't harm her sister, so they ended up kidnapping her, probably in Fontana, to buy time to think about what they would do next. Looking through the family photos on the wall, Morgan notices a remote family house that's in Fontana and speculates that might be the place where they're hiding Lynette. Karatek immediately calls his team of police officers to quickly raid the building. When they arrive, they find Lynette alive, embraced by her daughter. Karate gives her a nod of affirmation, while the director offers her a job as their official consultant. She declines. The next day, after spending time with her daughter, she realizes the little girl misses her father. Believing she's been misled about her ex-husband's whereabouts, she returns to the police department, accepts the consulting offer with conditions, and asks the director's help to search for her ex-boyfriend.